Good day, dear students. My name is Kehinde Adeshina, and I will be bringing you virtual lessons on biology. This video is brought to you by IOTA Virtual Learning. Do well to watch this video, think critically along, and jot down the main points. So in this lesson, we will be looking at the concept of living, part 1. That is the concept of living and non-living. But let's look at the lesson overview, what we are going to cover in this lesson. In this lesson, we will cover the concept of living things and non-living things, the classification of objects into living and non-living, the characteristics of living things. Then we'll look at the differences between plants and animals. Then later we'll look at the organization of life, levels of organization, the cell, tissue, organ, and system, and the complexity of organization in higher organisms. Then lastly, we'll look at the advantages and disadvantages of complexity. So what are you going to be able to do at the end of this lesson? That is the behavioral objectives. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to differentiate between living and non-living things, give examples of each group, highlight and explain the characteristics of living things, highlight the differences between plants and animals, identify the levels of organization of life, list examples of each levels of organization, highlight the differentiation and specialization of functions in each levels of organization. Then lastly, you should be able to highlight the advantages and disadvantages of complexity of organization in higher organisms. These are the behavioral objectives of this lesson. When you look around you, you see many things around. Some of these things are living, while some are non-living. So what are living things and what are non-living things? Living things are things that have life, and they include humans, animals, and plants. They are also called animate objects. Non-living things, on the other hand, are things that do not have life and include cars, umbrellas, cap, cloud, etc. They are also called inanimate objects. Characteristics of living things. Living things have the following characteristics: movement, respiration, nutrition, irritability, growth, excretion, reproduction, competition, adaptation, and death. Living things can move. Man moves with their legs. Birds fly with their wings. Fishes swim with their fins. Snakes crawl with their bodies. Butterflies fly with their wings. Plants also grows towards the sun. Sunflower follows the direction of the sun. Let's look at growth. Living things can grow. For example, a baby grows into a child which later develops into a man. A calf grows into a cow. A plant seed grows into a plant and later into a tree. Living things need food and water. Human beings depend upon plants and animals for their food. This method is called heterotrophic nutrition. Plants make their own food, water and air and sunlight. This process is called photosynthesis. Animals depend on plants and other animals for their food. Living things can breathe. Human beings and other animals breathe using their lungs. Plants inhale carbon dioxide from the surroundings. Living things can reproduce. Reproduction is the process in which a living thing gives birth to a young ones of its own kind. A human gives birth to a baby. A cat gives birth to a kitten. A bird lays egg which later develop into an adult. What are the differences between plants and animals? We will look at these differences making reference to their characteristics. So plants and animals are different in the following ways. In movement, plants cannot move from place to place as they don't have organs of movement. Plants only move in a fixed position in response to stimulus. Animals, on the other hand, move from one place to another with their organs of movement. For example, man can move with their legs and birds could fly with their wings. Nutrition. Plants exhibit autotrophic nutrition. Plants are capable of manufacturing their own food, making use of carbon dioxide and water with the help of sunlight and chlorophyll. This process is called photosynthesis. Animals, on the other hand, exhibit heterotrophic nutrition. Animals cannot produce their own food, but depend on plants and other animals for their food. Respiration. Plants do not have specialized respiratory system or organ. However, animals have a well-developed and specialized respiratory organ and system. Difference in irritability. Plants respond to stimulus very slowly and there is no specialized sense organ. However, animals respond to stimulus very fast and there are specialized sense organs for various stimulus. Excretion. Plants do not have a specialized excretory organ or system. Excretion takes place all over the body. Animals have specialized excretory organ and system, helping to remove specific waste products. Growth. Growth in plants is continuous and uniform. There is no specific number of parts and branching is continuous. However, growth in animals is definite, uniform, and limited. Growth continues for a specific period and stops at a certain period. There is also a fixed number of parts in animals. A man cannot grow more than 2 hands or have more than 2 legs. But 2 different plant species will have varying numbers of branches. Storage of food. Plants store excess carbohydrates as starch and excess lipid as oil. However, animals store excess carbohydrate as glycogen and excess lipid as fat. Reproduction. Plants have a less advanced system of reproduction involving asexual means and sexual means by their flowers. Most animals can reproduce by sexual means only. Mammals give birth to their young ones alive, while other animals lay eggs which develop into an adult animal. Cell structure. The body of plant is rigid due to the presence of cellulose in their cell wall. Plant cell also contains chlorophyll, which gives them their green appearance. But most animals' body is flexible because of the flexible cell membrane without cellulose. The cell also do not contain chlorophyll. Only green plants contains chlorophyll, giving them their green color and also enabling them to carry out photosynthesis. Now, let's have a review of what we have learned so far, looking at past questions from the WAEC papers. Let's review this question from WAEC 2022, objective question 2. Which of the following statements about living thing is correct? Which of the following statements about living thing is correct? A. Animal respire using carbon dioxide as a raw material. B. Growth in plants is limited after some time. C. Most plants respond to stimulus slowly. And D. Higher animals can reproduce asexually. I give you 10 seconds to pick your answer. Think critically and pick your answer. Time up. The correct option is C. This is because plants respond to changes in their environment mostly slow. For example, when we apply fertilizer to the soil, the plant does not jump up in a day. It will respond to this chemical stimulus slowly and gradually grow up. Let's take a look at the incorrect options and why they are incorrect. Option A is wrong. This is because animals respire using oxygen and not carbon dioxide or carbon dioxide. Option B is also wrong because growth in plants is continuous. Plants continue to grow and growth is unlimited. Option D is also incorrect because higher animals can only reproduce sexually by fusion of gametes and fertilization. Higher animals cannot reproduce by asexual means like binary fission and spore formation. Let us continue our lesson looking at organization of life, levels of organization of life. Now, living things are organized in different levels from the lowest to the complex. The lowest organization of life being the cell, followed by the tissues, followed by the organs, the system, and lastly, the organisms. So the levels of organization from simplest to most complex are the cell, the tissue, the organ, the system, and the organisms. So what is a cell? The cell is the simplest form that a life can exist. It is the basic unit of structure and function in the human body and plants. Though all cells perform the process that keeps human alive, they also have specialized function as well. Examples may be nerve cell, neurons, blood cells and bone cells, palisade and parenchyma cell. So these are various examples of cell: the red blood cell, the nerve cell, a typical animal cell, and a white blood cell. There are organisms at the level of cell organization: amoeba, paramecium, euglena, chlamydomonas, and bacteria cell. A single cell, can it perform more life processes? Yes, of course. Amoeba moves with the aid of pseudopodia. Chlamydomonas moves with the aid of flagella, so also is euglena. Cilia is the movement organ in paramecium. Amoeba feeds by engulfing. Paramecium reproduce by binary fission. So also is amoeba. Feeding in amoeba and paramecium is through the food vacuole, and excretion is through the contractile vacuole. A tissue is a group of specialized cells that perform same function. There are 4 basic types of tissues in the human body: the epithelial tissue, the connective tissue, the mucosal tissue, and the nerve tissues. So basic examples of tissues include bone, blood, muscle and cartilage, xylem tissue, phloem tissue, parenchyma and collenchyma tissue. Organisms at the tissue level include hydra, sponges, sea anemone and corals. These are organisms at the tissue level of organization. So, what are organs? Organs are a group of two or more different types of tissues that work together to perform a specific function. For example, the heart is made up of muscles and connective tissues functions throughout the body. The task is generally more complex than that of a tissue. Examples of organs include the heart, the kidney, the eyes, the liver, the flower of plants, and the leaves of plants are also organs. They contain tissues working together. Animals at the organ level of organizations include platyhelminthes like tapeworm, planaria, liver fluke, and plants like onion bulb and rhizome. Let's look at what a system is. A system is a group of two or more complex organs that work together to perform a specific function. Each organ system has its own function, but the system work together and depend on one another. There are 11 different organ systems in human body, including circulatory, digestive, endocrine, excretory, immune, integumentary, muscular, nervous, reproductive, respiratory, and skeletal system. So, when various systems come together, it forms an organism. An organism is any living thing that is capable of growing and becoming complex. They are capable of metabolizing nutrients and reproducing. Now, they could be single or multicellular. Now, there is gradual complexity from cell to the highest level. Higher organisms have bodies that are differentiated into specialized parts. These specialized parts make up the tissues, the organs, and the system, which makes them more efficient in carrying out their functions. But is specialization or complexity always beneficial? Let's look at advantages and disadvantages. Number one advantages of complexity is it has led to division of labor and specialization of different cells, tissues, and organs. It has led to efficiency of various organs of the body. Complex organisms are able to survive and adapt to their environment. Various systems operate side by side without affecting each other, and reproduction in complex organisms does not necessarily lead to the disintegration of the parent cell or the parent organism. What are the disadvantages of complexity? Individual cells are not able to exist on their own. They depend on each other for survival. With complexity, ability to regenerate lost parts decreases. There is also difficulties in acquisition of food, materials, and oxygen, and also removal of waste products. There is difficulties in reproduction and also slower rates of diffusion. Now, as organizations become more complex, cell tissues and organs become differentiated and specialized. Differentiation is a process whereby a less specialized cell, tissue, or organ develop to acquire a more specialized form and function. For example, the stem cell develop into sex cell, fat cell, bone cells, nerve cell, and others. Differentiated cells also group into tissues with specific functions like epithelial tissues, which covers the surface of our body. Differentiation and specialization also occur at the tissue level. For example, the tissues combine together to form organs, each with a unique role. For example, the heart pumps the blood while the lungs facilitate gaseous exchange. Also, at the system level, organs work together in the system to perform complex function. The respiratory and the circulatory system collaborate to deliver oxygen to tissues around the body. Now let's look at what we have learned so far in this lesson. Lesson summary. Living things are things like plants and animals that have life. Non-living things are things like stone, metals, water, sun, wind, etc. that do not have life. Characteristics of living things include movement, respiration, nutrition, irritability, and so on. While the differences between plants and animals exist, e.g., animals move from one place to another, while plants move in a fixed position. Now, living things exist in different levels of organization, which include cell, tissue, organ, system, and organism. We also learned that there is increase in complexity at various levels of organization of life, and this complexity has advantages and disadvantages. We also learned that there is differentiation and specialization of cell, tissues, and organ as animals become more complex. Those are what we have learned in this video. Let us do another review with our WAEC past questions. You need to do this in order to learn the patterns and style of questions and how to tackle difficult questions. It will also develop your critical thinking ability when you analyze the questions, wrong and right answers. Let's answer the question from WAEC 2021, question 7, and it says, the diagram below is an illustration of a living organism. Study it and answer the question that follows. The level of organization of organism is A. Tissue, B. Cell, C. Organ, and D. System. I'll give you time to think about the answer. Time up. The correct option is B. It is a single-celled organism, paramecium. Option A is wrong because it takes many similar cells to form a tissue. Option C is wrong because only tissue forms organs. And option D is also wrong because a system is formed only in higher animals. Organ level of organization in living thing is formed in A. Water leaf, B. Virus particles, C. Kidney, and D. Spermatozoa. Think about the answer. The correct option is C. Kidney is an organ in the urinary system. A is wrong because water leaf is an higher plant. B is wrong because virus is a single cell, and D is wrong because spermatozoa is a single cell in animals. Which of the following is common to both plant and animal cell? A. Cellulose cell wall, B. C. Cell membrane, large vacuole. Think and pick your answer. The correct option is cell membrane. It is found in living things because it controls movement of materials in and out of the cell. A is wrong because only plants have cellulose. B is also wrong because only green plants have chlorophyll, which gives them green appearance. D is wrong because only plants have large vacuole. Remember this. Always practice your WAEC past questions after going through each topics in the syllabus. This will help you to develop your critical thinking skills and help you to know how to tackle difficult questions. Thank you for watching, and always read your book and subscribe to this channel.